What was your 15 minutes of fame? My screen name was in a CNNers video for a few seconds. My squad was in a narcoleptic nugget video. All of our good plays were cut though, so even though we lost, he made it look worse than it was. I appeared on Let's Make a Deal and won $100 in fast cash. According to Nielsen ratings, this was seen by roughly 3 million people. One time in college we all did terrible on a test. Professor said if someone could hit him with a paper plane, he'd throw the test out. Asked for volunteers and I raised my hand with a bunch of others. He picked me, and people were pissed because I was near the back of a 400-seat class. I made a paper airplane and let it rip in bullseye. People were high-fiving me, and that semester tons of people recognized me at parties and whatnot. It was pretty cool. I was an extra in the Christmas movie Elf. I'm a little person, so it was a big deal. A noble spirit embiggens the smallest man. It's a totally cromulent word. When I was a baby, the high chair I was sitting in broke and caused me to fall onto my head. My parents had just bought a new video camera and were testing it by filming me sitting in the chair looking at the balloon because for some reason I was fascinated by it. Anyway, while they were filming, the chair part of the high chair broke loose and I fell straight on my head. Thankfully I was not injured. My parents reported the incident and later they received a call from the U.S. government's Consumer Product Safety Commission who wanted the video for evidence in a case against the manufacturer of the high chair for a recall. The video then found its way to Good Morning America, The Today Show, and a still shot was on the front page of USA Today. Darn, I just sat on the floor. I got the #1 score in the world on a game on miniclip, then lost it just as quickly as I got it. Hey, that doesn't sound like 15 minutes. I was in the movie Superman IV, The Quest for Peace. The classroom scenes were shot in our science lab and we were the extras. We were a Department of Defense dependent school at RAF Croughton in the UK. The cool part is, despite the fact that Christopher Reeve did not appear in our scenes, and thus had no reason to be there, he still came to the school in his costume. He spent probably 2 or 3 hours. He gave a little talk, and signed autographs and posed for pictures. Later, my dad was at a rally in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. A little odd, since my dad is Native American. Not partially, or anything. He's pretty dark-skinned. I don't know if they cut him or not. We look for him whenever we watch it, but I've never seen him. One of my comments got over 10 upvotes, so that was pretty awesome. Pretty much a celebrity now with over 50 upvotes. Can I have a selfie with you please? 69 at the moment. On the Snapchat What Happens in Band story, there was one from our school that got put on there of me bowing down profusely to Danny DeVito when a herd of cows stared at me on one of my walks. Oh, I see you saw my mom's bunco club. I was on local TV for winning first place for first grade in my state in the Reading Rainbow Young Writers and Illustrators contest. This is awesome. I loved Reading Rainbow smiley face. Also, LeVar Burton has a wonderful podcast on Spotify. He reads the best short fictions and it's just completely golden. It's called LeVar Burton Reads. If you'd like to check it out sometime, smiley face. Made a meme page over half my school followed during high school. I'm not proud over it, but when Uganda Knuckles was a thing I commented, "They do not know WAE," and got 1,000 plus upvotes. The post was a meme saying, "Why don't flat earthers just sail to the edge?" For a few days I had the most Final Fantasy XIV achievement points in the world. I don't think anyone save for few people in the top 10 even noticed it, but it's nice to know that, for a brief moment in time, I was the best in the world at something. I just got into this game a few days ago. Is it worth getting the expansions or should I move on? I was responsible for a series of crop circles which were quite notable in the early 2000s. Best part was, because I grew up in the middle of nowhere and wasn't interested in local news as a kid, I had no clue that I was the source of an ongoing mystery and that crop circles were a form of vandalism. Honestly, I saw the movie Signs, thought it looked cool and loved spending time outdoors with my dog. It was several years later that my mother finally asked me why I kept coming home covered in vegetation and I was told never to do it again. It was a few years ago that I found some BBC articles about it, including a very miffed UFO fan who was pleading with the perpetrators not to mislead UFO hunters, who might be cold standing in the middle of fields at night. Felt bad. Just got gold for an Eat Your comment. I appeared in the national newspapers and on the BBC over 20 years ago because I predicted that people would steal credit card information and personal details from the data stored on servers, because it was easy. Someone asked about bathroom hacks, so I posted a picture of my curved shower curtain rod and talked about how it makes my shower feel absolutely enormous. Thousands of people looked at my bathroom and I answered a ton of questions about holiday shower sets, candle warmers, and whatever else people saw. I made a TikTok out of pure boredom and unironically gained 5,000 followers and 3 million views. Show it to us please. Got retweeted by my favorite Let's Player, causing a bunch of guys to follow my Twitter, ask for my Steam, and proceed to buy me games off my wish list. Was super dope until it got weird. Had to block most of them. How'd it get weird? I'm 90% sure Op is a woman and the guys were thirsty creeps. I was on a segment on Antiques Roadshow. I'll hear from people that they saw me whenever they rerun it. OMG Antiques Roadshow, the dream. I was on local BBC News as I was being filmed, answering the phone for the suicide prevention helpline. I volunteer it. Obviously it was staged because answering a real call on camera is totally verboten. After yelling out the next line of a song from the audience, Harry Connick Jr. invited me up on stage with him to sing the song. Luckily, I can sing. Charlotte, North Carolina, 1990. Auditioned for a play after a 20-year hiatus from acting. Got the part. Show was extended an extra week. Won Best Supporting Actor in Local Theater Awards presentation, beating out 6 other seasoned actors. Tweeted something and got 3K RT and 28K likes, and another one replied by Roger Federer. Peeing my pants in the class assembly at school. Whole school plus our class's parents saw. Sounds like 15 years of shame if I'm being honest. I was in first place in Kahoot for one question. I toured with Mike Panera and the Blues Image, best known for their 1970 top 5 classic rock one-hit wonder, Ride, Captain Ride, from 1984 to 1986. I was working in finance, accounting, and we would tour the West Coast on weekends. We opened for some legendary bands from the same era: Spirit, Mamas and Amp, The Papas, Strawberry Alarm Clock, and Johnny Rivers at venues like the Coach House in San Juan Capistrano and the Stone Up in San Francisco. When I was 15, Ride, Captain Ride, was one of my favorite tunes, and my older brother and Amp, I went down to the Broadway in Hollywood for a meet and Amp greet signing of the Blues Image. They were so cool. Little did I know I'd be playing in the band 14 years later. It was pretty wild. A lot of party favors. Here's the video from the original band back in 1970. It is really a great tune that still sounds good 50 years later. I dosed my school towards the end of the computing lesson. Dose equals denial of service. Because I'm good at computer science. Everyone thought it was intentional, besides the people I told it wasn't. Resulted in the computer it was done on crashing. Surrounding computers in the department getting extremely slow, to the state of not working. Turns out, computers in other departments were affected, on upper floors, across the school, etc. So yay, that was cool. My pseudo-credibility as a hacker went up, but I don't tell them is that I tried to replicate it and failed. I was doing a lot of stuff at the time, and it's not exactly something that I can repeat. I once interrupted the King's speech when I was grumpy and was less than 3 years old. I have a viral video that you've probably seen. I have received nothing for it. How likely am I to have seen it? Can you compare it to another viral video? Spilling milk on my pants. Ruth Bader Ginsburg came to speak at my school. This was during the time that same marriage was legal state by state, not everywhere in the US, and the religious CEO of Hobby Lobby sued, saying that using the store's insurance to give employees birth control went against his beliefs. His case was about to come to the SC, so during the Q&A, I asked Ginsburg, could the religious case in Hobby Lobby be used to discriminate against LGBT individuals? I mean, marriage rights don't mean much when you can come back on Monday and get fired for it. She basically said, yeah, I think so, but we're seeing a sea change on LGBT rights as more and more people bravely come out and say who they are, then mentioned how the court tends to follow social acceptance trends in its rulings. She also said the upcoming marriage equality case needed 2 or more regional courts to disagree on how to rule before the SC could decide. So, watch the 6th, and keep advocating for yourself. A bunch of papers and pundits picked up on these comments and tore her a new avenue for allegedly hinting how she would rule on marriage equality in response to a student question it. Unfortunately, they didn't name me. Sorry, RBG. I, an 18-year-old somewhat fit girl, climbed a somewhat difficult rock wall in front of two middle-aged ladies, who happened to be the only other climbers there at the time. I was the best at something for once. I was quoted in the local paper one time in 1998. During my valedictorian speech during high school cause everyone thought this popular kid would give the speech but he ended up second place lol. Okay, so this one time I said the letter F and then waited for 5 minutes before saying the letter A, then another 5 minutes passed M, and then finally after another 5 minutes I said E, and at that point I knew my 15 minutes of fame were done. This is big brain. History teacher was late to class so I taught the class how inaccurate the movie 300 was. Teacher came in, sat down in front of us. He wanted to disturb me. It looked like it was heated. The principal of my school then came in and wanted to talk to my teacher in the hallway. So I continued on with ancient Greek history and told them about Alexander the Great for 5 more minutes. Best day ever. A camera crew encircled me at the cathedral organ console when I played a festive prelude for the new bishop's installation service. Had no idea they'd be coming around the organ to capture the moment for TV broadcasting. Being first on the leaderboard of Pixel Gun 3D. Ended up on African TV by mistake for 6 months when I was 14 over Skype. I'd like to hear more. Did a talk proposing an idea about a new attraction at a theme park or something like that. I had my lines written down but I didn't bring them and I stood there grasping at things to say. When the mic came to me, in front of a grand total of 180 people, I then told the guy running the thing that I'd cocked up again, mic in hand. Somehow, no one remembers it, or they don't bring it up. My baby picture was in the elevator at JCPenney as an ad for their photography department where it was taken. Jay posted a video on YouTube that got me 30 subs and 13,000 views. It got taken down in 3 days because I said you should hate a child who crushed his cat's tail in a door. This one time, I answered an Ask Reddit question and it got upvoted. I won a giveaway contest from one of my favorite shows and got the first season on DVD and some other cool memorabilia. Didn't even know until I got the package in the mail. I won $100 by submitting the high score for a shareware game after buying the full version. I wish I could remember what game that was. It was the 90s and you were some dude trying to reach the top level of a huge tower. I got to be celebrity handler, transport at a horror convention and had the pleasure of working with Tony Todd and later Linnea Quigley.